municipal buildings, we should.
Mr. Pace, how are you? Sorry. It's all right. It's okay, Mr. Pace.
We'll throw the gavel.
Is Alan the,
He was here. He was supposed to talk to people.
we're rolling. Good evening. Welcome to the Township Council Workshop, Monday, March 9, 2020. This meeting is now called to order. Will the Girl Scouts approach the podium and lead us in Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Girl Scouts. Mrs. Kraus, please read the statement of public notice.
Take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with NJSA 10:4-10 as follows. A notice of the meeting was prominently posted on a bulletin board at the municipal building located at 225 Main Street, Little Falls, New Jersey on January 9, 2020. A copy of the notice was faxed to the North Jersey Herald and News and the Record on the same date. Additionally, a copy of the notice was filed in the office of the Township Clerk on said date.
Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll at this time.
Councilmember Cordner? Present. Councilmember Kawadi?
Present.
Councilmember Sieber,
Present.
Councilmember Vanchery?
Present.
Council President Scoba.
Present. At this time, we're going to go outside and present the Girl Scouts with a proclamation because there's quite a few Girl Scouts, so we're going to go in the atrium.
I wonder if it wasn't put up because I'm the exception to it. It's not worded. It shouldn't. I think that's what's wrong.
Joe.
Yes, soldiers and non-Marines, right? So I don't know if somebody else said something and they pulled. I don't know. So the lady, the family, I think, had this picture, so they must have had it during the vacation. Somebody ripped it off. This says rededication. Let's say rededication. See here. Look. It was straight on rededicated. So that means it came after. Is that the story? Is that the account? Yeah, that's all. I don't know if he. They don't make them as good as they used to. Oh, that was good.
Thank you for your patience. At this time, we're going to also present Design a Bookmark Contest.
I just hand them down.
Councilman Claudio, can you call out the names, please?
Yeah, so the winners of the Friends of the Library Design a Bookmark Contest are Christina Variano, Laura Di Fabrizio, Chayton Gorin, and Eden Saidian. Is that you? There you go.
Stand.
You're
Very good.
Eden?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We'll save these for your friends. Turn around. Okay. Good job, guys. That's it.
It's a big proud of that. How many books you got to get that?
Designed a book.
Design book?
One more, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. One more.
Thank you.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Congratulations. I guess we will. Maybe we can hold on.
No, it's fine.
We can have people come and pick this.
Mrs. Kraus, please let the record show that Chief Sweezy and Mr. Pace are in the audience this evening. Can I have a motion to open to public comment for general matters?
So moved.
A second?
A second.
All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed to the motion signify by saying nay. Mrs. Kraus, please read the statement.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President.
The floor is now open for general matters.
Bob Dombrowski, 3 Garden Street. Hello.
Mr. Dombrowski, I'm sorry, if the Girl Scouts had that lowered, can you raise it? Thank you, sir.
There you go, Bob
Thank you.
Dombrowski, 3 Garden Street.
Good evening.
I had 2 questions. One was on the resolutions to purchase the street sweeper. I noticed Bill isn't here. All the years I've lived here, we never had a date of when that street cleaner comes. You know, is it like potluck? Are we scheduling a date, different sections of town? Is it like the first Monday, the second? We've never had a date, as far as I can remember. It was just that when it came, it was like a celebration. And number 2, the other day I had the opportunity to go out for breakfast, and the crowd I run with now is my age and older. So we parked in the handicap zone on Main Street. There's 2 handicap zones that are in front of the PNC Bank. However, the first handicap zone, you can't get out of the car because telephone pole won't allow your doors to open. Who's responsible for that? Was that the county's doing? The pole is literally right at the curb. So if there's 4 people in the car, the passenger cannot get out the car. You have to back up and let the passenger out, unless you position the car up, because there's 2 slots. They haven't been there that long, but I just want to know who's responsible for that, and whether that spot could be redesignated to allow 4 passengers, because not at all times the handicapped person is the driver of the vehicle. It could be the passenger or the rear seat passenger, and it makes no sense to have a handicap spot if you can't open the door. Thank you.
You can stay there, sir. As far as the street sweeper goes, you're right, sometimes it seems erratic when it comes and cleans the streets. I'd imagine that's Mr. Simone. Mr. Crucia, do you know if there's a set schedule for that program, or is that a department that Mr. Simone just dedicates as he sees fit when he should send the street sweeper out?
It's scheduled by Mr. Simone.
Okay, so that is scheduled by Mr. Simone. On the other issue, we'll take a look at that poll and look at that spot, and we'll test it out ourselves, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Ray? No? Seeing no one else come forward, can I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to this motion signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Mr. Crucia, item number 1.
As you know, the mayor is not with us today, and he's asked me just to mention that on our website, the coronavirus information is located with the Department of Health, and there's a one-page advisory that's there, and everyone should take a look at it just to be on the safe side. The first item we have is the Food Establishment Ordinance Amendment, which we are asking to introduce this evening. It has to do with the handling of temporary events for food service, and we've enhanced the ordinance to include more definitions with regard to caterers and employees and preparation vehicles and whatnot. I believe the council's had an opportunity to take a look at it. If there's anyone that has any questions, I'd be happy to discuss it with you now.
Do the council members have any questions regarding this? Because we're going to be introducing it pretty shortly. Councilmember Seaver, are you good?
No?
Okay. Mr. Crucia, item number 2.
We're requesting approval to go out for public auction. Mr. Simone has a few vehicles which are no longer needed for the township, and in the past, we've gone out to internet auction and done very well on selling our surplus equipment.
And when that equipment is sold, where those proceeds, what budget line item?
They're general revenues of the township.
Anybody have any questions on item number 2? Item number 3, Mr. Crucia?
We're requesting an amendment to the EMS billing ordinance. It is increasing the fees as a result of our increase in costs. With the cooperation and the input from our EMS coordinator and the new billing company, we believe that we have the appropriate fees to present and be reimbursed by our various insurance companies.
Does any council member have any questions regarding number 3? Councilmember Cormier?
Yes, Ms. Cuccia, so for these fees, so I'm clear, we only charge non-residents, is that correct? So that if our EMS service...
The bill is billed to everyone.
To everyone?
We only accept the insurance payment from residents.
Okay.
There's no balance billing for residents.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding item number 3? Mr. Crucia, item number 4.
Regular return of escrow. This has to do with 44 Main Street. The building was built a number of years ago, and we are now settling with the final bills which were paid to our various engineers to make sure that the building was completed as intended.
Are there any questions regarding the return of escrow on item number 4? Item number 5.
Item number 5 is the bond ordinance for the refunding of tax appeals. You may remember that we had discussed this when we passed the resolution to make the payment for the settlement. The amount that we are bonding has come down from the original $800,000 to $790,000, and that will be refined as we continue through the process. This will allow us to petition the local finance board for approvals and make the payments of this ordinance over several years.
Mr. Crucia, can you just give the council member in the audience the back out to this, when it started?
The original appeal was for the tax year 2016, and from that point on, the appeal went through the court system, county court system, and then to the state court system. In 2017, I believe, we changed tax appeal attorneys. So we had a fresh set of eyes looking at the cases. It was determined then that we would attempt to settle the matter and stop the continual payments that may have occurred had we continued with another appeal on this. And that's where the payment and the refund comes from.
Thank you. Do the council members have any questions or comments regarding item number 5?
Yeah, I just, wanted to
Councilmember
ask-
Quaddi?
Mr. Kusia, so there was a,
I say, I'm facing that.
I appreciate you turning around. There was some questions from residents at the prior meeting about how it would be possible that such a payment would not impact our budget. So can you just elaborate a little more on what you expect the bond of several years, typically, how does that go? And how do we make those these payments back so that it does have a minimal impact on the tax?
So here's the process. We settle the case. We make the payment to the taxpayer.
you can
We
tell them.
refund the money to the taxpayer. We then go to the local finance board, which is a state board, which authorizes all of these unique and individual situations in all municipalities, and ask them for approval to borrow the money that we just paid back. So we put that money back in our coffers. I'm sorry. The state then allows us to pay the bond over a number of years. We're hoping for three or 4 years. We won't know that until we go to the local finance board. The next piece that you will see is the authorization for us to actually apply to the local finance board. That's the resolution that you haven't done yet. Once that happens and they approve that, then it doesn't have a tax impact because we're able to manage the debt within the confines of what the normal budget is. So we're not impacting the taxpayers for 5.5 tax points with one refund. We're splitting that up over a few years, so it has less of an impact to the taxpayers.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments regarding item number 5? May I have a motion to approve resolutions A through C, which is budget transfers, the street sweeper, and the bill list?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mrs. Kraus, call the roll.
Councilmember Coordinator?
Yes.
Councilmember Quattie?
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery?
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, at this time, read ordinance 1380.
Introduction of ordinance number 1380, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 182, retail food establishments and vending machines, with a second reading and public hearing scheduled for March 23rd, 2020.
Can I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1380?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Mrs. Kraus, call the roll, please, on 1380.
Councilmember Coordinator?
Yes.
Councilmember Quattie?
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery?
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Councilmember Quattie?
Thank you, Council President, and I apologize for coming in a little close to the start of the meeting. I was actually speaking to a resident out in the hallway. Just want to let everybody know once again that on April 18th, we will be having our Green Fair and our first farmers market at the rec center. We encourage everybody to attend. It's coming together very nicely. It's looking to be a great event, and so we hope that as many people as possible can make it. There's a lot of valuable information there. On May 16th, we're going to have our spring town cleanup, which is where we ask volunteers from around the town to just give the town a spring cleaning. This is going to come a week before Memorial Day, so we know that the Memorial Day Parade is a big event in town, and we'd like to, spruce things up a bit before those events happen. And then in August, we'll be having 3 movie nights, and so I will be getting those dates. They're not written in stone just yet, but when they are, I'll be sharing those. And just a comment on the Girl Scouts, I think it's so nice to see such a great turnout at a council meeting by groups that encourage people to be involved in their communities, and the Girl Scouts is certainly one of them, and so it's a pleasure to honor them tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Quattie. Councilmember Vanchery?
Thank Thanks, Council President. I echo what Councilman Kawadi said with the Girl Scouts. I'm glad that they were able to come here tonight, and if you haven't seen them around town, they have plenty of Girl Scout cookies for sale. As you can see, I have 3 boxes behind me that I had picked up recently. So you may see a lot of the girls out and about by Quick Check or Dunkin' Donuts, so make sure you buy a box. Just a few updates. In terms of what I've been working on with the Transportation Committee as well as Mr. Lemanowitz is trying to coordinate with the mayor some dates for a few meetings with residents where we are planning to place speed humps as well as introducing some 4-way stop signs. So we're hoping to have those dates. If not this month, we're going to do it in April. I know the schedule has kind of been evolving, but it's something that I've spoken to the mayor about, and he's going to get me some dates that work best for him, and then we'll coordinate it from there. The one thing, too, is that we're working on is the upcoming Memorial Day weekend activities. We have the concert in the park on that Friday, followed by the parade the next day on the 23rd. Myself and one of my colleagues have been working on just sort of fine-tuning the run of show for both nights. We've reached out to a number of different vendors about the Friday night as well as some participants for the parade, and we're looking to pull together our typical parade committee starting next month to really start planning out everything we need to do from a police standpoint as well as, coordinating with CERT team volunteers. The other thing that we're working on soon is we're going to have a flyer that's going to go out around town, and we're going to work closely with the Recreation Department for Little Falls Night at a Jackals game this summer. It's going to be on a Friday night, as I've mentioned previously. We're fine-tuning the flyer with the Jackals, and we're hoping to put that out so we can start getting some residents there and really make it a fun event. As I've mentioned previously, it's not just having the kids march on the field. We're looking to work with the police department to have members of the police force there, as well as our veterans and even our members of the fire department. We really want to make it a big thing for Little Falls and celebrate everyone in town. A couple other things I want to mention is that at the next council meeting on the 23rd, we're going to kick off Autism Awareness Month. It usually is in April. However, with Easter holiday, knowing the meeting is going to be in the middle of the month, we wanted to get it out as early as we can. So we are going to have a number of families here with a proclamation from the mayor, and we've also been working on a few different things where outside is going to be lit blue for the month of April. We're also going to do it on the 23rd, and we've been able to purchase an autism awareness flag that we'll have prominently displayed here at Town Hall just to show our support because, as I've said previously, in New Jersey, the levels of autism diagnosis are very high, and we do have a number of cases in town, so it's an opportunity for us to recognize the students. The other thing we're going to do that night, too, is we have 4 high school students who live in town from Passaic Valley High School who recently broke some school records as well as some accolades in different sports. So we're going to have someone being recognized for basketball, track and field, as well as 2 wrestlers. So it's a nice way to honor some of our kids in town that are succeeding on the high school level as well. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Vanchery. Councilmember Cormier.
Thank you, Council President. Well, I just want to add that I think it's very apropos that we did the proclamation for the Girl Scouts during the month of March because March is International Women's Month. Yesterday was the day celebrating International Women, so I think that's wonderful that we gave this proclamation to these great young women who are learning to serve, and I think that's really, really wonderful. So I want to thank the mayor, and I really think the presentation was great. So moving to our Senior Advisory Board, this Friday, I see a few seniors in the audience. We'll let you come, you'd have to pay $5. But this is going to be a lot of fun. It's dessert and dancing. We really get a great turnout when we do anything having to do with music and dancing. So this time it's dessert and dancing. This is new for our Senior Advisory Board. We already have almost 60 seniors signed up, so we're really excited about that. So that's this Friday. All are welcome. If you're not over 60, you just have to pay $5. On March 18th, which is the following Wednesday, we have our March Lunch and Learn, where we're going to have a attorney who specializes in elder law. We have a lot of people expressing a lot of interest in this particular Lunch and Learn to understand about senior care, about the laws, about wills, about estates. it's really quite important. She also gives tax information relating to seniors. So we're also getting a lot of interest in people signing up for that. And I just spoke to Mr. Cuccia today, and we think that the senior bus is ready to go. It's got all its graphics on it, and we're looking to do a launch of our new senior bus on March 25th. So we'll have a little bit more details that we'll put up on the website. So as always, you know, my philosophy is if you feed them, they will come. So there will definitely be food served at that particular event. And tomorrow we have our Senior Advisory Board meeting where we will flesh out the rest of the year's events to put up on the website. And the Lunch and Learns have become so popular that we're going to push to do 2 a month instead of 1. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Pace and his staff and team who have stepped up to help us set up and break down and clean up for these events. So we're really looking forward to an expansion for our senior services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Coordinator. Quite active there with the seniors. I have to pick up my social calendar. Jeez. Councilmember Sieber?
Thank you. So I'm glad to see the introduction for the amendments for 1380 tonight. This actually helps us with our farmers market that's going to be starting every Sunday with May 31st going through October 18th. And as Councilman Quaddy had earlier mentioned, that it's going to unofficially kick off during the Green Fair. So we are also continuing to look for vendors for the farmers market. We do have several different types of packages available to vendors. We do offer full-time, which would be 20 Sundays, or part-time vendors, which would be 10 Sundays, and then also what we would consider a guest vendor, which you could pick anywhere from 1 to 6 Sundays at a smaller price point. So again, if anybody's interested, information is out there on the website. They can also email me. My contact information is also on our website. Thank you.
Thank you. I see this evening Resident Fernandez is not with us, so on behalf of the council, I want to give a shout out. Hopefully we'll see him at the next meeting. We miss him, I think, since I've been at this dais. He hasn't missed one meeting. So, Mr. Fernandez, we're looking forward to see you at the next council meeting. Continuing, can I have a motion to open for public comment for agenda items only?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to the motion signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Mrs. Kraus, please read.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President.
The floor is open for agenda items only.
Good evening. Andrew Baggett, 78 Franklin Road. My Little Falls interest is 105 and 107 Main Street in the center of town. Just a quick question for Mr. Cuccia. Regarding item 3, you mentioned the courtesy there that if it's residents, you'll accept insurance. Will that also extend to taxpayers? I'm a taxpayer in Little Falls, but I'm not a resident.
No, residents only.
Not taxpayers, residents,
Why would that be?
because that's the policy of the mayor and council has been since we adopted the EMS program. It hasn't changed.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else? Seeing no one else come forward, can I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to the motion signify by saying nay. Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning this meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to not adjourning this meeting signify by saying nay. Motion carries. This meeting is now closed.